So in case you're wondering what that sound is, in your Honda motor, if you can do this by hand, then your hydraulic tensioner has a known problem on the J35 3.5 liter V6, then you need to replace that thing. Now, in my case, the belt job was done 30,000 miles ago, and this factory part gave out early. They have a 1 year, 16,000 mile warranty or some rubbish like that. It's a greasy mess in there. I did the valve job on this motor after a road trip to Oregon at like 130 something thousand miles. And right after getting back, doing the valve job, drove it for a day or three, noticed it went from noisy valves to a sound I didn't like. Thought I'd done something wrong. Thought I'd left a part in there or a tool or not torqued a thing or had a huge gap. Went in and checked, and I will say that there is definitely a lot of fun because of this wiring harness and getting to the last position in the middle on the left exhaust adjuster. That's no fun in there. A lot of people mess that up, so check it 3 times over. The other thing is when you're replacing these valve covers, there's a T-seal that goes to keep the tubes and these lined up. I was very careful on this side, and yet I still managed to be crooked. And when I put down these guys, I cut my my T-seals that were not in properly from not manipulating the lid right. There's some weirdness on the way the screws go, so just be very visually careful on that. My eyes aren't that good up close anymore, but yeah, check that as you go. Because actually I would have had to taken this all off again anyway just to fix that. So it worked out that I did, and I actually made a minor adjustment back there, not knowing how finicky that spot is. A lot of stuff in the way, but what I'm getting here to show you is there's a way to replace this thing that's been well documented overall, but there's a lot of information missing. So I made this little pokey yoke. It's a piece of PVC press fitted onto this bar, and you can see there's a 6.2 here, a 1.5, and a 4.3. And so what you want to do when you're doing either your valve job or replacing this part is you want to be sure you're starting off at the right point. And in that case, it is top dead center. Do not be in another position when you go to replace this thing. Do not turn this thing. Contrary to videos you've seen, do not turn this thing with the tensioner not mounted. That is not a good idea. Do not do that. In my case, I can't see past the harmonic balancer right now, but I did mark mine to see if it walks in. If it does, I'll have to replace it. In the meantime, this is the opposite of where the key is for me. And I know that because up top here through this window, you can see that guy. If it will ever focus, iPhones don't know how to do that. And that's number 1 that's lined up there to that window. And I also marked this guy here, which is much harder to read and get to. And you can see my little Sharpie mark lining up there. So I'm not off by more than a tooth at best, probably not at all. And what you'll want to do when you start this thing is you want to get your tool on here, and you can count it or mark it or whatever, but have somebody up top or take your sweet time getting up and down 100 times to make sure that you've lined up your cylinder 1 top dead center, and then mark all this because you don't want to take it all apart. And once you know you're at top dead center, then you can remove the 2 10mm bolts that are joyously placed by a bunch of other BS around here. I would love someone to tell me what this weird looking regulator thing is and what that single wire thing is doing there. But what I can tell you is this 22mm sensor on this 2006, it's smacking your way of doing this. And there is a seal on here you're going to want to not get dirty. And there's a thing an iPhone can do called focus. It just takes a year. So now, there goes my little adapter I was going to show you. If you mind grabbing that for me. So I'm going to go hand tight and then take a 22mm and put this back on because I'm done being in there. I got about 2/3 of an Ooga Dooga on there. Feeling pretty good about that. I'll reconnect this sensor here that I hung up out of my way. It is a 2-pin, it looks like. It's not clicking. Oh, okay, that clicked. All right, so everything's lined up, right? With that lined up and a very tired old tensioner, you can just pop this thing in here on the back of this with that crap out of your way, and you can push on that to get it back in. You don't even need this to get it out, probably. If your tensioner is as tired as mine is and you can hear it clacking, then it's just those 2 bolts. Getting it back in, you want to start this bolt, and you can do that by hand with just like a really basic, well, putting the other one in. I pulled the pin before I put it in. I'm not cutting that cover because I don't have to. It was a plan B, but you don't need to cut the cover. It's cramped as hell in there on the 06 anyway. On the all-wheel drive, I'm sure the VCM's not that different, but I'm using one of these guys and a small 10mm extended socket, which is something like this guy, but 1/4 inch, and I can't find it right now. Very organized guy I am. So yeah, just get the bottom one in, go all the way tight, and then bring it back a half or a full turn so you're not torturing threads. And you can get in here and you can lay down on your back and you can push this guy with your right hand, and you can take your left hand and drop the other bolt in, along with just, you know, finger tooling it in, and then you can tighten it the rest of the way. I highly recommend some type of Loctite on those threads, medium blue, you know, 402 or whatever it is. And don't forget to, yeah, there it is, there's the tool. 104 inch-pounds or 8.7 foot-pounds, or what is it, about 11 Newton meters. Torque those things in there. Be sure they are properly tight, but don't strip them or break them. And now, having pried that in there very gently with this little setup, and having lined this back up and turned it around by hand a couple of times, we'll be starting this car, and we get to see if it flies into pieces. I've got my sensor reconnected, and everything is as it should be, and I've watched it go over visually. Everything's lining up. It can't be off more than 1 tooth right now, and hopefully 0. It didn't feel scary at all in there. I think the keys are in the seat. This thing was going like, I could feel it going clack, 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 and it was bad. Right now with my finger on this, I feel a tick at most. I'm not too sure where that's coming from. Getting into here with this tool like I did before, it feels amazing. And my valve drop sounds nice, so I'm happy. Really, honestly, car's running great now. Word to the wise. Cardone axles, 35 days after I installed this, started to rip from normal street driving. So keep your factory axle and pray you don't get as unlucky as me. But yeah, Pilot tensioner replacement is safe and possible in my opinion, with just some basic crap. This is like a, well, I mean, this is going to vary depending on what's in there from before. But yeah, 1 1/16 for me was all I needed just to get a little bit of angle on that, letting this guy be the pivot point, bearing in mind that that rocker is swinging this way, so you don't want to start top first. That doesn't work for you. Do bottom first. I know the top is more cramped, but mechanically you're going to make more sense in there. Use this advice at your own risk, and if you have that horrible clacking sound, don't drive your car anywhere. Get it to a mechanic or get it done. But yeah, I'm so happy that it doesn't sound like crap now, because that was embarrassing and scary. It could have been a whole motor had that gone on much longer. I bought the entire kit. I think it's somewhat unnecessary. I'm going to keep an eye on stuff. It's been done before, but I'll keep the kit and probably source another tensioner. And I probably won't go factory. I might find a Gates or a AC Delco or something. So yeah, given how easy it is to get to this thing and how obvious the symptoms are, I might even try like a $35 SKB or something, because what the hell, I mean, my time ain't worth money no more anyway. All right guys, cheers.